Hello everyone, this is USA Wooden Railway here, and this is yet another layout video. Now, I recently acquired a lot more track, buildings, trains, accessories, so now I have a lot of pieces for a big layout, so I decided to make one, and this is my video on it. So we're going to start this tour on the east side of the layout at Chicago Union Station. Well, it's not like a 100% accurate representation of Chicago Union Station, but it's pretty close. So, Chicago Union Station, my wooden version of it, it's underground. We have some buildings and vehicles on top, and it has about 5 tracks. So these 2 tracks here, these are 2 incredibly long tracks to hold longer passenger trains, like this M-track one right here in the Illinois Central city of New Orleans. So those 2, they just end down there. Now right here we have 2 shorter tracks for commuter trains, and then one more longer track that's a through track. You can see it coming out down there with the CSX office car special. I'm going to stand up so you can look inside. So this is the center of the station where you can see these 2 tracks ending here, and these 2 tracks beginning here as these two tracks go underneath the station, come out there before joining the main line again. Knock something over, let me fix it real quick. So that's Union Station. We have a couple commuter trains in there, a mail train, a SEPTA commuter, and of course the office car special. So that is Union Station right now. There's lots of buildings on top, including a CTA bus to tell us that it's Chicago. So that's Union Station right there. I'm pretty proud of how it turned out. I'm going to give you guys a look inside. So that's Union Station. So after Union Station, all 5 tracks become 1 track, and this is the main line starting right here. So before we go down the main line, I'd like to talk about this freight area right here where we have the helicopters parked. I couldn't fit them anywhere else. This place is also a truck terminal, so we have plenty of trucks parked around this. And here's all the cranes here for loading freight cars. We have 2 lines of freight cars that are loaded and ready to be put together for a train. We have a Rock Island switcher dealing with that. So we also have 2 sheds over here, a special engine shed and the works shed. This is where I'm currently housing my Santa Fe diesels, and parked outside of that is a Union Pacific GP38. One of the tracks is a through track and joins the main line, and there's also another line which wraps around and heads in that direction, but we'll talk about that later. So that's that area. So if we follow the main line comes over this way where it branches off here and heads towards this branch line, which currently has a Chicago Northwestern train on it. But we're going to stick to the main line for now. So we follow the main line out of Union Station, out of the yard. We pass these industrial buildings, and we come to where it splits. So this is the eastbound main line right here, what 611 is on. 611 has appeared to hit something, which is rather unfortunate. So that's the eastbound main line. And then if we continue straight, this is the westbound main line. Now the westbound main line, it runs down the middle of the street through a small suburban town. And it has to share trackage rights with streetcars, which is rather unfortunate. It's an operating headache, but the line was built pretty late on, so there wasn't much space. So that's the westbound main line right here. Well, the eastbound main line, it wraps around the edge of the town, goes through a grade crossing, and meets up with that line from earlier. So these are like the passenger sheds over here where we have storage tracks for passenger cars as well as engine houses for locomotives for the passenger terminal. There's also one more siding here that's meant for freight, but it's currently being used to hold Superliner M-track passenger cars. So we're going to keep following the eastbound main line. We come across the Chicago or an Elgin train, which meets up with the westbound main line right here at this small station, which is mostly meant for interurbans and streetcars. The eastbound main line goes over the westbound main line right here where there's a drawbridge. And the eastbound main line, it continues around the pillar here before it heads downhill and heads towards this factory right here. where accident has happened. Someone's going to get fired for that. And then right here, the two mainline tracks become together again, and it's double tracked once again. So we're going to head back to the westbound main line. The westbound main line has to climb the mountain tunnel here and go over the top over two other tracks before it heads down the mountain again underneath that line, and it meets up with the main line again in this area, which I'll call Goose Creek. Why is it called Goose Creek? Because it reminds me of Goose Creek in the Roblox game Retro Western, so I decided to name it that. Two main lines come around here where there's a switch right here where if you make a right, you can get back onto the eastbound main line where it rejoins it right here with several other tracks. We can see a Burlington Northern Freight train on it right now. Uses Whittle short line bridges and one choo-choo track and Toyco bridge. All three of them look nice in my opinion. And we come into Goose Creek Station, where we have an Amtrak passenger station made by Whittle and an ACS 64 with Viewliner coaches stopped at the platform loading people. Also here right now is a CSX freight train, which is headed by an SD70M and two GP38s. So if we continue this way, we come into Goose Creek Roundhouse, which has a water tower and 3 Melissa and Doug Roundhouse pieces. I eventually plan on getting 4, but right now I only have 3, so this shed right here is a substitute. Although in future roundhouses I will work this in so it can hold 22 engines. As of right now it can hold about 17 engines with some side tracks here for other locomotives, as well as a small shed in the back for other engines. So right now it's holding 20 engines. So we're going to continue following the main line here. And we're going to briefly check out the port right here where we have a couple ships in the port, as well as this branch line that branches off here. So the branch line, it heads back towards the city, and it's not like trains can go either direction on it. Like, it's not like the main line where there's east and westbound tracks. In the port, there's a siding for loading trains. Right now, a BC Rail freight train is being loaded. If we continue following the branch line, it leaves the port where we have a siding for a large warehouse, where we currently have a Milwaukee Road switcher, which has its freight car loaded. So that's that area. We head out of the port and onto the branch line, where we see a Rio Grande freight train going through the bottom of the mountain tunnel. Meets up with another line over there. Comes out from under the eastbound main line, and then we're back to the beginning where we started. That is the branch line. That's why you see trains going in 2 directions on it. It's for trains to go either direction. The branch line also has, right here, there's a brief side track right here that trains can take if they want to turn around and head back eastbound. So if westbound trains want to turn around for some reason to come back into Chicago, they can take the branch line right here onto this siding and just head back on the eastbound main, and they'll make their way back into Chicago. So that's the branch line. If we continue following the main line, we'll come across the arch bridge made by Lionel. We'll go over the several red arch bridges where we have a CSX freight train and Amtrak and the Amtrak Excella. I think I knocked something over, which is just great. There's a ship back here, which is currently carrying the Olive Joy train set. Now, over here, the eastbound line can switch off here and splits off into 2 directions here. So you can either take that line, which is both lines are going eastbound and back into Chicago, so it doesn't really matter what line you take. But if you take the line to the right, it takes you through the center of the mountain tunnel where we have a long boxcar train being pulled by 2 CSX-YN2 units. That's that path you can take. Here's a better view of it right here. You can take that path. Or you can take this path right here, where after you go through the covered bridge, you come over the Sydney Harbor Bridge, but it's supposed to represent the Hell's Gate Bridge in New York, where we see Illinois Central 382 pulling a mail train over the bridge, so that way it can take this line around here and then get onto the branch line right there. It's currently waiting for some trains to pass, though. So those are those two connecting lines off the main line. But if we can continue following the main line as normal, we'll go down and we'll come into Bartlett, which is an actual metro station. That Cat's Meow Block building right there, it's the Bartlett metro station. So it's pretty cool having that on the layout, and appropriately there's a metro train right there. If we continue following the main line, there's a Union Pacific freight train on it. And the double-tracked main line comes to this switch right here where there's a connecting line over the freight area, which connects to the main line on this side. It's like a through line. It's on a bridge, so that way trucks can pass under it without having to go over a crossing. You can follow that. And then these two main lines, they end in Chicago Union Station. So those should be all the lines on the layout. I hope you enjoyed this layout video, as this layout took me several hours to build. I think it took me 8 or 9 hours. Had to stay up late into the night. But I hope you enjoyed this layout video. I'm going to walk around a bit so you can see the entire thing and have a better scope of it. Oh, that's what I knocked over. There we go. Good view of this area. So yeah, that is the entire wooden layout. I hope you enjoyed this video.